Hello, I am Theodora. Welcome to Real Life Experiences. Here, I talk about day-to-day life experiences and offer insights on how to go through them. Today, I'll be talking about how to set personal boundaries and the importance of having personal boundaries. I was born and raised in a small village called Amagoro, and over the years I have witnessed my fellow village men buy and sell land. Before land is sold, community leadership together with the land buyer or seller inspect the land, and the boundaries are either set or inspected to make sure they are intact. And after that, the land is sold in the presence of different people. And I've also witnessed my fellow community members rise against the people who try to encroach their land. They rise in different ways. Others carry pangas. All these actions is to speak out one clear message. This land is for someone. This land is not available for anyone. Before you get to it, you have to be given a certain access. Back to our topic of personal boundaries. I think personal boundaries are just a clear way of speaking and telling people this is how you and I can relate. And this is how we can treat each other. This is what we can do. And this is what we cannot. And this is what I will not compromise on as an individual. And if you, in one way or the other, cross, or if do certain things to me that make me uncomfortable, this is what will happen in this relationship, in this interaction, in this communication. From the story, comparing land to a human being, I believe we are more valuable than land. Therefore, it is important for us to have personal boundaries, healthy personal boundaries, so that we can interact and relate with each other in a healthy way, in a more respectful way, where we respect each other, uphold each other's strengths in certain areas, respect people in spaces that we don't agree with them on certain things, respect them, and we can still have a relationship in the end. Personal boundaries or boundaries are set to protect something that is important. And personal boundaries will always expose intruders or encroachers. The world has programmed some people to make us operate dysfunctionally, whether emotionally, physically, mentally, and in all ways. And some of these people exist in our own families, in workplaces, in places of worship. They are everywhere. But having a personal boundary or having personal boundaries will put such elements in check. So how does one establish personal boundaries? I'll give us later on step by step. But for starters, it comes with speaking your truth, making it known in a calm and respectful way, and also clearly stating what happens when someone breaches your personal boundaries, instead of assuming that people know your personal boundaries. And sometimes silence could also set your personal boundaries. However, sometimes people use silences as silent treatment to punish others for something that the other party doesn't know. So it's very important to know when to put out silence as your personal boundary, and to also understand when and how to use it as punishment, if that is your way, but not to use it without clearly stating on which grounds it is coming forth. And it also depends on who and which audience you are applying it to. Silence is important because sometimes people will poke you left, right, and center. Some things do not require your response at all times. So that is also important as you consider making your personal boundaries. Important to note is, if you do not stand up and advocate for yourself, especially using your personal boundaries, the world, the society will twist you in its direction. It will restrain and constrict you. Setting personal boundaries, it also comes with certain elements. For instance, taking permission, apologizing or taking responsibility when things don't go as they should. Those are also important elements while considering to set your personal boundaries. Let's get into the steps on how you can actually set your personal boundaries. In setting personal boundaries, there are two types of boundaries. There are the hard boundaries. The hard boundaries, these are boundaries that you are unwilling to compromise on, no matter what. These include the things that you will do and the things that you will never and cannot do. These are things that you'll decide by yourself. For some, it could be your identity, could be your value system. So you can think about what yours is, the principles upon which you live your life on. Then the second one are the soft boundaries. This could be aspirations, your goals, your dreams. These also you can choose what can be your soft or hard boundaries. Having these and all that I mentioned earlier, then you can, first step is categorize your boundaries. What are my soft boundaries and what are my hard boundaries? Second one, set your priorities. Also, setting your priorities comes with different aspects of your life. It could be your work life, could be your relationship or family life, spiritual life, among others. Set it out. The third step is effectively and clearly communicating your personal boundaries and also stating or communicating them respectfully with the consequences in case they are breached. This also comes with patience to know the audience you are communicating your personal boundaries with and the level of impact or importance they have with you. And then also actively listen. When you're setting your personal boundaries or when you have a set of personal boundaries, it is important to actively listen wherever you are. Getting to know who are you interacting with so that you not get the wrong signals of things, and it also empowers you on how, when, and what personal boundaries you need to communicate at a given time. Taking responsibility or putting in place responsibility measures. How will you apologize in the event that it is you who has crossed the line? Because we are human beings, and in one way or the other we interact. Sometimes someone could breach your personal boundaries out of ignorance and you lash out or use excessive force than required. So at this moment, it will require you to apologize or to make amends. Please set in things in place for such occurrences. Or it could even be you who has breached someone else's personal boundary. How do you deal with that? Just as you have your personal boundary, there are others also who have theirs. So it is important to know as you're guarding yours, there's someone else guarding theirs in a different way. So you have to put these measures in place to test your personal boundaries. You can test one at a time to see how are you communicating it, what feedback are you receiving. Sometimes you could, if you have a trusted friend, you can test it on them, or if not, you could just test it whichever way possible that you see is more comfortable for you. and then get the feedback with patience. Get to learn and receive feedback on how people react to your personal boundaries, and that will inform you how you'll properly communicate it to the next audience or in the next times to come. Then the last one is commit to living according to the personal boundaries that you have set. Of course, time and time again, you may adjust here and there, add a few things, modify a few things here and there, but the basic standard is that you have a frame. And now from that frame, you can flesh it up. It's like you have the bones and then you're fleshing it up to make it to the version that you are happy and content with. That is fostering healthy relationships around you, that you are someone who is respectful, someone that people around respect and understand your place, understand where you're coming from, understand your values, to the point that they respect you, not fearing you, but they respect you. And they also know that you respect them and understand their set of values. Thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you next week. Please let me know your thoughts on personal boundaries. How do you set your own personal boundaries and how do you go by them? Thank you so much for joining me.